Alright guys, HyDra here, and I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, the qualification point for this year's CDL World Championship is not really all that far away, and one team are rock bottom of the CDL standings right now. Pred does not seem especially impressed with Boston Breach's 50 points in the CDL and no victories on LAN so far this season, but also responding to a clip from Hecz where he seems to try and shut down any of the rumours around OpTic throwing excuses around whenever they lose on LAN. Very much enjoying your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, just wanted to mention this. Dashy is still looking for a couple more apparently, so you guys know that in a couple of days time it's 20 women, 1 Dashy coming to play, and well, apparently they need a few more, so we'll see what sort of characters turn up on this, but I'm looking forward to watching it. Did want to mention quickly as well, because TJ and the boys for Ravens are now out there in Charlotte. Well, they were, right? So the first series they played from Brian Saint's penthouse, if that's actually a thing, wasn't with the entire team. Then the series that they won after that, when they of course took down Subliners, they were all there in person. Clay had the camera on. Last weekend's though, or like this most recent match they played, Clay's camera wasn't on, and there was some thought, was Clay actually there? Apparently he wasn't, so the team wasn't fully together, and that probably goes a fair way to explain exactly what was happening in their comms, because it was the classic Clayster, not a particularly happy man comms when the team is separate. When Clay's next to his boys, either online or on LAN, it's a very different Clayster, I think. And, well, Clay's energy infects the way the rest of the team is going to play, in my opinion. So Clay wasn't there. I'm not sure why this wasn't the case, but I'm pretty sure that this most recent game they played this past weekend, they weren't all there in person, which has seemed to have made a difference, because there was loads of talk from Ravens, well, you know, we just need this facility to get us all sorted, and they got it, and they played much better. But then they're not playing all for the facility last week. So not sure exactly what Clay was up to. Possibly he was back in Dallas to deal with, you know, some personal stuff, or just deal with a house situation. I'm sure it's been a bit of a mess. But at the same time, every 10 CDL points is important. So there's been some talk about, well, you know, I don't obviously really want to speculate why Clay wasn't there, and if it was anything, you know, particularly serious. Obviously it's not, you know, worthy of criticism, but every 10 points matters, you know. But Ravens probably should still be okay to qualify for the World Championship this year, but it is very tight down there at the moment. I think they are better than some of the teams they are around, and if they get another good performance on LAN, I think they'll be fine. But it is definitely called into question, and they no longer have that Ravens Charlotte home crowd buff advantage at Major 4 because the Ravens bottled it. Who is surprised on that one? Just quickly on Asim as well, because there has been some discussion, of course, whenever Asim is in the league, on the way the flank treat Asim compared to other players. Obviously, Asim was catching some flack in the replies to this tweet. And watching the flank episode, you know, I think that if Asim wasn't called Asim and Asim was called Snoopy, or if Asim was called Purge or whatever, and yeah, that was the gamer tag, I think there was likely to have been more criticism on the show than there was. And I don't really mind it. Like, you know how it is. He's obviously friends with some of the guys on the flank. So even if they don't realize they're being biased, I think sometimes it's like natural or internal. If you're boys with someone, you're not going to maybe criticize them in the same way. I don't know. But there were certain moments where they, you know, were talking about the team making errors and all these things, or talking about Geo having, you know, underperformances, shall we say. And that might just be Geo playing poorly, but also he was playing great when Purge was around. That might be a map set change, or like a map pool change, because the maps are different now, but there's got to be something in it. But anyway, so ZooMaa actually responds to this in his community yesterday and says, you guys talk about this narrative more than I do, it's so weird. He went to challenges and got picked up, not because we're friends. I didn't call or talk to anyone, and I've been heavily critiquing everyone, whether I'm friends with them or not. At this point, I don't know what you want from me, which is fair enough from ZooMaa, but I just wanted to mention it. Now, let's talk about the way the CDL currently stands, because it's an interesting league. The question is it a 1-team league? Is it a 2-team league? Is it a 3-team or 4-team league? Of course, we talked about for a long time the top 4, but now you look at the numbers, it looks a bit more like a top 3. Toronto, for example, they've actually not lost to a team that isn't top 4 since they lost to Boston. That's the only one they've lost. So every team that Toronto should beat, apart from maybe the Subliners that they should beat potentially, but especially given where New York are right now, but that hasn't been the case, let's say, during Major 2, Toronto have beaten them. So to me, it's not as simple as like a top 2 in the rest, because Toronto Toronto do handle business generally against everyone they should be beating. That is certainly less true for the Subliners, and we're going to talk about New York later on today because they are in an interesting spot. FaZe, though, are clear number one, and as Drazah says, you know, can somebody trade us, please? There is also a clear worst team in the league as well by the CDL standings. I'm not so sure that Boston are actually the worst team. I'm not going to lie, if Vegas keep playing as they have done for the last couple of weeks, they are the worst team in the league right now based on the evidence that I've seen. At least Boston can win hard points, and, you know, they probably would win more searches if they didn't throw them all away and keep making terrible plays. Miami are down there as well, and in terms of teams that won't make it to the World Championship, Miami, I think it's rather unlikely they make it. Even you look at a team like Vegas in the slump that they're in, still not out of the question there. Gorillas are in an okay position, but, you know, are they having a bit of a honeymoon period with Flames? Will that be maintainable? So lots of questions on this. OpTic, of course, don't have to worry about it, but they are playing teams at the bottom of the standings and having some rather impressive results. And the team I think they play next weekend, or very shortly, is Boston Breach. I think it is OpTic's next game. So Prit was talking about this during the Game Chat episode, just looking at the standings, right, seeing how things are looking, and was like, wow, Boston have 50 points. They're rock bottom of the league. Because going into the season, Boston were the team that was considered to be, you know, 5th or 6th best. Now, sure, they've made changes. Capsule was gone. Obviously, Sasha was gone as well. And the moves, I think, very controversial. Didn't make that much sense to me at the time. But the team wasn't performing before that anyway. I know that Sasha was kind of thrown to the wolves in a sense just because, well, the team wanted to stick with Snoopy. And Sasha's point was, I wasn't the reason why their search was bad. And I'm sure that he's standing by that point to the present day based on what we are seeing now. So, yeah, Pred, maybe with a few words here for Boston, given the fact that not only were they expected to be good this year, but they're actually quite a way off the World Championship cut line.
Make it rain, make it rain. MVP. Oh my God, the Breach. The Breach needs some points.
Oh my God, the Breach.
Wait, that's
Breach.
If you'd have told me beginning of the year,
they get last, huh?
They got last, and they're not winning any league matches, bro. They're winning.
But
you know what's crazy is their first ever league match win this year was against Toronto, 3-0.
That's when they had the Diesel capsule.
Yeah, and then that's when Toronto was 23-1 in HP, and they were the one.
Why does that always happen to Capsule? He always gets on team. They always like beat a good team,
but
and
then
he always gets dropped.
Cap only has dope to like run somebody for one series and then be like, I don't need this shit. Like,
my bad.
Cap's actually good, dude.
Cap's actually good though. He just has no dope.
Nah, he has dope. His dope just gets killed, I think.
He doesn't have the.
He has dope.
He has dope, but it's like a sprint for dope.
His dope gets killed though. His dope gets killed.
Damn.
4-8. Wait,
he not winning a control. They just won
one. They beat New York.
New York.
I think they just hopped on the point. Yeah. You can get 2 wins and you're in. But I think we're secured. we got 2. That's all you need.
We're secured.
Seattle and FaZe from Seattle for 6-1. We're all in.
Come on, Boston. I know we can do it, bro.
I know LAG's waiting till land. We gotta watch out.
Yeah, LAG's landimals, bro.
LAG's waiting till land.
Yeah, it's gonna get top 6 at land. Just
be like, this is the free.
Fucking
online is top 6. Like, yeah, we run shit.
But who does
But did they get top 4 the first one? Oh, they got top 6.
They got top 6. The last one.
Oh, we played them. We played all.
The My Camping losers.
And the first day.
They might camp and losers is crazy.
Yeah, that should.
They did the Seattle strat from last year.
Surge Stratton champs.
Man, they did. What the fuck?
One more.
We were actually pretty ass at Surge.
I don't want to see no fucking excuses on Twitter ever again. For the rest of your fucking life here in OpTic.
Big Hecz.
There's the boss. Fucking.
Connection and none of that shit. Okay, please, because they're just gonna fucking say they're using excuses. I don't want to fucking see it. Please, you guys did your thing though, man.
So I think it's quite quickly spiraled out of control for the Boston Breach, right? Because it wasn't that long ago that, sure, they were last, but Thieves were like down there with them as well. And now Thieves are up to like 90, aren't they? 90, or maybe they could have been at 100 actually, Thieves, had they not got reverse swept by the Minnesota Rocker. But Boston are still down there at the bottom of the league. Like, if you look at Boston's recent series, it's just L. And lots of those have been Game 5 games that they arguably could have won or should have won, but their search isn't there. They can't get the bomb down. they had some must-win series, and they failed to deliver in those must-win series. On LAN as well, they haven't won a series on LAN. They've won a map, which is better than Miami have, but they've not won a series, of course, so that puts them in a bit of a predicament as well. They've got 50 points, but it's all online, and they're 50 points behind championship qualification, which is, that's a big result. They're going to need to start winning at least 50 to 60% of their online series, and they're going to need to probably put in a top 4. And the state of this league right now, getting a top 4 is just so hard, because that's basically a win. Like, if you're not FaZe or OpTic, or possibly Toronto, maybe New York, but we'll discuss them later today. If you're not FaZe or OpTic, and you're one of the bottom 8 theoretical teams, getting top 4 is like as good as it's going to be. That effectively is kind of like an event victory in the category that you're in. So that just makes it super challenging for them to make it out. And I don't really know anyone right now that's predicting Boston to even make it to the World Championship, which is pretty ugly given the resources and the commitment that they've thrown into this roster, of course. More on that in just a second. But also I've got to mention this clip, right, from the recent Process episode where OpTic, here he is, big OpTic Hecz, talking to the boys. And I'm not exactly sure who he's talking to specifically here, but I thought this was, pretty damn good statement here from Hecz. Maybe he knows the camera's on. But we always talk about this sometimes with OpTic, that the question is always, how important is winning to the team? Is content the priority? This sort of stuff. And we've seen for the last, several years, and I think sometimes this narrative is overblown, as are many narratives with regard to OpTic, because whenever anything happens to do with OpTic, understandably, because it's the biggest team, the most fans, people talk about it more. So if a certain player from another team tweets something out which is an excuse, people are going to say, hey, you're making excuses. But when an OpTic player tweets something out that could be seen as an excuse, obviously everyone's going to be talking about it. So it's been a narrative for the last couple of years that, OpTic players, they might lose a series on LAN, and they'll say something about, ping or about practice or warm-up or whatever, right? And every player has a tendency to do this, certainly in the online COD domain. On LAN, there are fewer excuses, but it's even maybe the narrative of OpTic saying, well, we lost to FaZe, but we threw away maps 2 or 3, and therefore we, would have won otherwise. And Hecz is, seemingly saying here to whoever, look, we've got Kenny here, we've got Shotzzy, Dashy sitting down. Basically is just putting his foot down and saying, look, no more excuses tweets, because it doesn't reflect well on the organization, and also shows a clear intent from the top down that, we ain't just here to make funny videos and to come second. The goal is to win at all costs and take accountability, because I think accountability as a one word that I could describe what I wanted to see from this year's OpTic roster, that is probably the word I would choose. With Kenny coming in, I think it's been a big part of that. I think Karma's been a big part of that as well, because he says it as it is to the players for sure, and it's also coming from Hecz as well, like ensuring the players are taking accountability, because I do think that has been something that has been lacking over the last couple of years. And OpTic right now are comfortably second best. FaZe are clearly on a different level at the moment, but there will come a time where OpTic can be competitive there, I think, from now to the end of the season. When that is, that's a big question. Obviously, we get tweets of this from Kenny on COD, it's definitely something. So, there is even a tendency for players such as Kenny, even with the accountability things that I just mentioned, but also Kenny has been known, let's say even in the Thieves days and otherwise, not to be the biggest fan of online COD. So online COD, it is what it is. When it comes to LAN and things don't go your way, that's when, Hecz wants to make sure there's no excuses. It's all about maximum accountability in the organization, which I think is definitely going to spell success for this team in due course, if they can maintain that, of course. Kenny also mentioned this on the flank chat the other day. People go harder in scrims. So he just doesn't think that these matches they play online are anywhere near relevant. And maybe there's a piece where many other players have mentioned this, that some of these guys in the league right now, if you're playing OpTic, the viewers, the eyes are on you that series. So is it about winning, or is it about looking good? If you look like maybe the best player on your team, then the team might think, well, we won't drop this guy, right? So surely if you're a coach, you know what's going on there. But this is what people often discuss, and maybe for understandable reasons. Boston right now, according to ZooMaa, possibly worst team in the league. Look, they are the rock bottom of the standings, and I wouldn't predict them to beat many teams right now because they can't seem to win a search and destroy. They can win hard points. They've actually looked pretty good in that mode. There are some positive elements for Boston, but they're just too far behind, I think, to make any impact here. And this is what he comes up with, the bottom 8 being an absolute mess. To be honest, I don't think that Ultra and New York should be in the same category right now. I know that New York beat them at the major, but Ultra have been far better, I think, against the weaker teams than Subliners have lately. I would honestly almost be tempted to go S, A, B, C with those 4 teams and then go into D. Or you could even argue that New York are even down here in the mix now because they've lost to Ravens, they've lost to Surge. No doubt one of the strangest compositions of teams I think we've really seen in the CDL so far. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.